Go.
Hey everybody, David Swor here once again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies. And DJ, I'm going to have to be honest here, buddy. With a little bit of off-air talk with our guest, I think we might be in over our head. I believe he might be a little more knowledgeable, not only about the Orioles, but baseball in general. So why don't you introduce our guest for us?
Casey Davis, man, it is great to have you on with us tonight. You're, we go way back to 1998, the fall of 98, teammates together at Temple.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you since then. It's been such a long time, man. It's crazy to think that it's been that long, and it's good to catch up with you a little bit before the show here tonight. Man,
It's only
there's a lot
22
of
years,
stories.
man.
What's that?
It's only 22 years.
Yeah. I
Just
can't believe it's been that long.
More time has passed than actually when we first met. Like from our birth to meeting time, more time has passed since then.
So I've heard a lot of stories about that team, guys. So why don't you just real quickly, let's go back a little Temple update. We've got thousands of viewers, a bunch of I can't say what I'm saying. Bunch of which went to Temple. And so why don't you guys tell us a little bit about that team, maybe some funny stories. Give us some insight. PG.
I tell you what.
Casey, I want some stories, man.
Come on, man.
Well, I tell you what. The one story that this is spring of '98. So right before you got there, DJ, and we played a small, poor school called the University of the South, Sewanee.
Oh yeah.
And for our thousands of viewers who maybe didn't attend Tennessee Temple or the school formerly known as Tennessee Temple, we had a curfew of 11 o'clock on the weekdays. And when we went to Sewanee, for some of us, it was an eye-opening experience that college could look like a lot of fun. And gosh, man, I mean, I remember there was a rugby game going on right next to the baseball field. Did you guys ever play at Sewanee?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Did they have rugby games going on next to the baseball field?
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
I'll tell you, it was impressionable for this young man who I got to see this girl in a sports bra and shorty shorts do a keg stand like in the middle of a game of rugby. And I was just like, called my parents. I'm like, I don't know how much it costs to come here, but I'm thinking I might need to transfer. Then there was a guy that had a Porsche Boxster. He was out behind the right field fence and he was doing donuts, and it was a convertible, and they're all yelling at Rodney Washburn.
Oh, Rodney.
Heckling Rodney Washburn, old number 24, the living daylights out of him. It was the best experience. And yeah, it was awesome.
Wow, so, Rodney Washburn. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Casey, I'm going to tell you just a quick funny story. We'll get off of it. We're talking about eye-opening experiences at Temple. We've talked about this a little bit in earlier podcasts, but my first spring break at Temple was spent in Panama City, Florida, on the strip in Panama City. Now, listen, I didn't know stuff like that existed. I mean, I was just completely shocked. Our poor coach, we got stuck in traffic on the strip. One of the craziest experiences. There may or may not have been a Temple baseball player ride down the strip in a Jeep naked. And we're still looking for that guy. You know, we mentioned it a lot in this podcast. He's in his upper 70s now. But anyway, some crazy experiences at Temple. So we'll have to talk more about that down the road. But
I don't know. Is David Snow watching this?
Yeah.
I think we all just got demerits for talking about that.
Oh, we definitely did.
Casey, you know who Donnie Cruz is, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I talked to Donnie not that long ago.
What?
Did you really?
Yeah.
Who's his team? Do you know?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Oh, my goodness. We've been trying to track him down. You know, Donnie went into hiding after school, and he was getting Social Security that last year we were there, and so we just didn't know if he was still around or not.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. He is the administrator of a nursing home. So, true story. I'll get you. I'll get you his.
That's too awesome.
Yeah. I'll get you his contact information when we get off here.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, for real though.
Let's talk a little. What was that, DJ?
For real though, give me his phone number, man, because I need to talk to him. It's been too long.
Yeah. He
absolutely.
was a great dude. I love him.
Donnie.
And I mean, Donnie and JB, Josh Brown. Do you remember Josh Brown? And of course, Big Country, Stiltner, and Joe Friend and Shelton. I saw Shelton was on the Braves podcast and just going at it. Old Steve Shelton, he don't change. I love him to death. Does not change.
It hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, but we had Casey Caldwell and Toby Hedrick and Mr. Doubles himself, Jeremy Jackson, and Mouse and Brian Stevenson. So yeah, man,
fantastic, man.
Good awesome times.
So let's talk a little baseball. And so we brought you on here for a reason. It's because me and DJ cannot name 3 Orioles players this year. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the 2019 Baltimore Orioles?
Well, the 2019 team, they did not enter the season with any delusions of grandeur. They knew it was full rebuild. They embraced the full rebuild. And they strive for excellence with that rebuild. They wanted to make sure that they got that first pick in the draft. And they still screwed that up. So they got the second pick. Yeah. 54 and 108, guys. 54 and 108.
So
for every one they won, they lost 2.
So I was trying to be positive.
Paul Abdul song.
I was trying to be positive, guys. So I was looking. They were actually 7 wins better than the year before. So they were building, but man, rough year. So I looked here. They were 20th in team batting, dead last in pitching. And why don't you tell us about the offseason, Casey? They kind of had a rough offseason too.
Well, I didn't go into all the 20th in batting and last in pitching because I just knew the standing sucks, so we didn't need to rehash all the horribleness to it. The offseason was tough too. So the one player you probably could mention was Trey Mancini. Here's a young guy, 26 years old, I think he is, and diagnosed with colon cancer, out for the year. So, fortunately it was caught. Fortunately, he's, getting treatment, and from what I'm hearing, he's doing well. So,
yeah.
But that's a tough blow. I mean, the guy had, I think, 35 dingers. Number 3-4 hitter in our lineup. You take him out, and you're going to replace him with a guy that hit 20 home runs and batted 270, I think. So.
Yeah, very
big
tough.
Big loss for us, but it just proves that some things are bigger than baseball, and we got to really appreciate our health and value that, and regardless if you are a Yankees fan and Cubs or whatever, the teams don't matter when it comes to that, and you all pull for the guy. So
yeah, I really hated that. So DJ, what do you got to add? 2019 Baltimore Orioles.
Well, Casey, man, Brandon Hyde and Chris Davis were going to fight a lot in the dugout. I'm sure you remember that. I want to talk to you about this for a minute, man, because you got to talk a little bit about this to me. Chris Davis, 3 years and $51 million left on a 7-year, $161 million contract that he signed. Last year, he had 12 bombs, 36 ribbies, and he hit 179. In 2018, he hit 168. I don't know what's going on with him. 2012 to 2016, he was solid. He was earning the money. I don't really know what in the world happened there. Can you talk a little bit about what happened to him?
2 words: contract year. I mean, that's the epitome of contract year. Now, I need to point out before we move on that Chris Davis is Jason Stiltner's favorite baseball player.
What?
I crapest thou not. He, I'll get texts from Jason all the time. Hey man, did you see what Chris Davis did tonight? This, that, and the other. And, he just blows my phone up about Chris Davis. So, as a matter of fact, when he was here, I gave him a Chris Davis jersey just to take home. Because again, he talks about him all the time.
So
But seriously,
we got to stop right there. Why? Is he from like his hometown or something? Like, what's the?
No, he just says he makes too much money. I says, if somebody's willing to pay you, you take that money. But Stiltner does bust on me all the time. He sends me texts about his batting average and things like that. And so he, I feel bad for the guy because really, he and his wife, and I know he's not getting paid to be a great community guy, but they really do support the community. His wife is a nurse. They're supporting local hospitals, children's hospitals, things like that. So with the money that he's earning, he is supporting the Baltimore community, and I give him mad props for that. I don't know what to say about it. You feel for the guy, regardless of how much money he's making. If he was making 100,000 or 10,000, anybody that's struggling that hard for that long, you just gotta feel for the guy. At this point, you get the pitchers who have cases of the yips. You got Lester in Chicago, can't throw to first base, for crying out loud. But, they still have redeeming qualities. Right now, they're putting him out there and just praying it's one out of those 10 times he might get a hit.
Yeah. So what was the beef with Hyde last year?
Well, I don't know. It was a painful year, and post-traumatic stress is real.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
At what point do you just cut bait and say, hey, this money's gone? It is just what it is. I mean, obviously there's a rift there maybe, and maybe it was just boiling over frustrations, but like at what point should the Orioles cut bait on him?
I think you're there. I mean, I know it's not my $51 million that he's still owed, but do you give him an opportunity? Would he even get an opportunity with another team at this point to maybe try to get a change of scenery? Who's going to take a risk like that? I just don't see it happening. Maybe, well, no. It was interesting. I can tell this story. I won't use names. So my mom and dad had become friends with one of the old Oriole announcers. My dad used to own an auto repair shop, and this guy would bring his car in to get it worked on. And so they took this guy to a game 2 years ago, maybe. It was before Machado got traded. And when they walked into the stadium, one of the ushers recognized the guy that was with my parents. He said, "Oh, hey, come with me." And the guy said, "Oh, these people were with me." And he said, "Bring them all." So they took him to the owner's suite. Brady Anderson's up there with him. And there's other executives. Again, I won't mention who it was, but they're sitting in this suite. And my dad's talking to one of the executives, and he's talking about Machado. He's talking about Davis. And the guy's like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them." And my dad said, "Well, he plays good defensive first base." And the guy just goes, "We ain't paying him to play defense." And my dad was kind of taken aback. He's like, "Boy, you just don't expect to hear someone talk so candidly to some guy he had never met before and say something like that," which I thought was. He also said that that he'd be willing to drive Manny to the closest airport to get rid of him, which I thought was saying.
Wow.
Yeah. There was no love lost when Manny left. I don't think.
I hear you. That's a cool story. So let's talk a little bit about the off season here. So DJ, give us the players they lost and the players they added.
So
Wait, let me get a pen and paper so I can write these down.
yeah, take a while, right? So I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about one of these players because me and David have been arguing about them all week. They lost Mark Trumbull. They lost Jonathan Villar. They lost Trey Mancini, obviously, to the cancers, and very unfortunate. And then they got rid of Dylan Bundy. So which one of those, Casey, do you think is going to hurt the team the most?
Oh, man. Well, Trumbo, let's go through them in order. Trumbo didn't wait, that's an easy one. Mancini is going to hurt the most. Trumbo didn't contribute much last year. He was dealing with an injury, and then they were so far out of it. I just felt like they decided to go young, and he was playing out the end of his contract. I don't think that they really had any intention on like running him back. Gave us a few great years, and he was that bopper that you always knew. I mean, in Anaheim, when he was playing for Anaheim, your mouth would water watching this guy play because man, just want him on our team. And for a few years, he did that. He provided a solid pop for us. Villar was an interesting pickup and interesting release. Got him out of Milwaukee on the Scope trade. Really, really solid ball player. Did the little things right, and thought that that'd be a guy that not necessarily you build around, but you'd hang on to for maybe some. He was on the cheap. You had some veteran leadership because he was still inexpensive or less expensive. I thought they would have hung on to him instead, or at least try to get some picks in return for him. They just released him, so that was kind of strange to a lot of people in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And Bundy, man. I wish him nothing but the best. We just suck at developing pitching. You look at the pitching that we've had and the number of high draft picks that we've had. The Brian Mattis. Zach Britton was a starter with us before. Basically blowing his arm out and then having Tommy John and coming back as a reliever and being lights out. Buck Showalter still should have used him in that game, by the way.
Yes.
Anyway,
very true.
So I think in all that saying, Mancini is the one that we're going to miss the most. I wish Bundy. I hope the change in scenery really helps him because I think he had the talent. He definitely had the arm strength. Boy, he had that Roger Clemens build, really big trunk and thick legs, and had a lot of that power in the legs. But his velocity dropped off that last season with us, and I'm not sure what was going on. But again,
just so you know, DJ has him pegged for the Hall of Fame, so he thinks he's the best thing that ever walked.
I'm telling you, Casey, I love Dylan Bundy, and I know he didn't really blossom to the full potential with you guys, but I think going out to Anaheim's like the best thing that ever could possibly happen to this guy. I've been telling David this from the beginning of the season that I think he's gonna have a really good year for the Angels this year. I really do, and I think he's gonna turn his career around because correct me if I'm wrong, because you've seen him more than I have, obviously, but the stuff is there, and he's got a lot of potential to be really good.
Yeah, he really does. It's just the consistency that he lacked, and what might have been part of it too is especially during the last 2 years, he might have been his own worst nightmare in just trying to miss bats because he knew that he had to. He may not have had the offense to make up for a mistake, but dude threw some long balls. Whew.
Yeah, 29 last year, just to be exact.
Yeah, what about the year before? I think he led the league.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, but
DJ's really pumped about the Angels and Dylan Bundy, so I'm sure we'll be talking more about that. So
you know what? I can guarantee one thing: he's going to have a better year than Shotani.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
he is having a rough go about it this year, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Casey, here's the ads. Okay, what do you think about this? Jose Iglesias, Cole Stewart, Tommy Malone, Wade LeBlanc, Cole Souser, if I'm not mistaken, the closer,
Yeah.
Andrew Velasquez, Ryan Holiday, Pat Velika. Any of those guys excite you?
Sick, man. Sick. I mean, geez, who whiz. Murderer's Row and the 5 golden arms. It's like the 20-win Orioles, right?
Yeah, yes.
Palmer and McNally and Stewart. And anyway, I'm sorry, I can't even feign it. So here's the deal. The strengths of this team are that we have some good leadership. We got Elias. We got the NASA dude. I can't even say his last. Sig. We'll call him Sig Midjal, whatever his name is. They're young. They're hungry. They're playing with nothing to lose. Every position's up for grabs except first base. The manager isn't afraid to bench a player or chirp at him if he's not performing. He's not hustling. The weaknesses are that we're young and inexperienced and really don't have a veteran leader. But the good news is that we're not going to lose another 108 this year. And that, we start out 0-0 just like everybody else with only 60 games to play. So best case scenario, playoffs, baby. Playoffs.
I think you could actually make a case, and I hate to be this way, but I don't think it's arguable that the Orioles got worse. Of course, they lost Mancini, and that hurt. But I'm like you, man. The VR thing, I don't get it. I know, maybe he had some guys that maybe he was blocking or something. I don't really know what the thought process behind that was. But he hit 20 homers last year. We know your team isn't the greatest at batting anyway. And so, like I said, I mean,
that's the most politically correct way of putting it. They're not great.
I honestly sat down today and was like, okay, I don't want to be all negative about this team because it's just so easy to go there. So I wanted to pick out some positives. And I'm going to be honest, man, it was hard to do. I mean, John Means had a nice year last year. West Virginia boy, by the way.
Yep, Morgantown.
Yeah. But, as going back to their ads, I thought Jose Iglesias was a nice ad. I mean, if you're struggling with your pitching, it's great to get a good defensive shortstop. So that was good. But
by the way, he's lighting it up with the bat. I mean, he was hitting 530, I think, before yesterday.
Well, he had a decent year last year with the Reds too.
Yeah.
And so I thought, that was a nice ad. But man,
well,
didn't help him at all with the pitching. Yeah. Like I said, they couldn't have predicted Mancini going out, so I can't bust on them on that. But
and Cole Stewart or Cole is it Cole Stewart?
You talking about their closer?
No, that's Cole Sluicer. The guy we picked up from Minnesota. Kohl is his first name.
Yeah, Cole Stewart. Yep.
Stewart. Yeah. He opted out. I was kind of excited about him. I thought he might be just a solid innings eater guy. He opted out at the beginning of the year, so we don't even have him.
Yeah.
The thing I'm concerned about, you talk about getting worse, and let's just say it was status quo, right? Let's just say that the team, you brought back the exact same team. The problem we run into is that we now play a 60-game season where every game is more meaningful against the AL East, whom we were 24-52 against last year. And now we get to also play the NL East, which I was going to say has everybody strong except for the Marlins, who just took, I think, three games from us. So, it's going to be tough. I mean, surprising we have 5 wins already, but I'm looking at you guys were talking about position battles, and we got John Means, who he actually was scratched opening day. He had a dead arm, but came back and he pitched pretty nicely in already. You got Alex Cobb. He's been solid this year. Basically, when I look at the lineup, and I'm looking at who can we use as possibly trade bait at this point. Who might we get some value from? I saw something the other day. It really stung. It was yesterday. They were going back to the Manny Machado to the Dodgers trade. And the Dodgers at one point had Yuniel Diaz, um, another guy, and Dustin May for Manny.
Mm.
And we turned it down to get 5 guys instead of 3. And Diaz is kind of pittered out, but May has been lights out, sick. But you look at the old regime, and I don't know that with Elias utilizing analytics like he does, I don't. I always wondered like how much of this analytics stuff is for real, right? I was gonna have a special guest join us tonight. Our friend is actually the bullpen coach of the O's, and I was hoping that if we could have mixed it up and he was just going to be available, I was going to have him jump on here with us. But I don't know where I was going with this.
We're talking about analytics.
Yeah, the analytics. So he was telling me, he said that there are guys out there with the Dodgers have like 12, 14 guys in their analytics department. The Orioles have, I think, 3 or 4.
And that just started like last year.
It just started last year, and they were talking about. He was sharing with me about, but this Sig Mejdal, Mejdal, I don't even know how to say it, but he actually developed the software and the algorithms. He's building all that. So even though they might only have 3 or 4 guys, they're actually be able to produce a lot more analytical data in order to support the staff, which that excites me. I mean, I hate the thought of like only going by the book. Sometimes baseball, this DJ, you got to play it by the gut, right? Sometimes, but anyway.
I'm a big believer in the analytics, man. And I do think, that hurt him. It surprised me how it's not been that long since the Orioles were pretty good. And 5 years ago. And so, the Fighting Showalters took a big dive, and you can almost marry that up with when everybody else was going the other direction, and they were going with analytics because Showalter refused. And so I think it's cool, man. I think it's a good move for them to go with the analytics.
But they also just gave up too that year. That one year they traded everybody. I mean, they just gave up, and that was sickening to see, really, because they had so many great years. Of course, I was hoping that maybe it would just follow Showalter's trend of every time he leaves, the team the next year wins the World Series, but didn't pan out.
Nope, not quite.
So DJ, you're a manager. What do you think about Buck Showalter? Let's get over in the weeds here a little bit.
Man, he's hard to read for me, man. I wish I could get inside that brain a little bit, to be honest with you. I, like you, Casey, when he refused to go to Britain in that game, I still to this day cannot believe that happened. I really believe that the Orioles would have won that game had he done that. Not sure what happened there. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on in your mind as a manager, but you got the best in the world at the time and didn't get in the game, which just blows my mind. And I really believe he's a genius. I do. But I just don't know. He's one of those guys that he's got that stoic face, and he's not real easy to read by just looking at him because he doesn't change his facial expression ever. So you don't really know how to read the guy. Yeah, so tough, man, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember too about that game. I do think that he should have gone with him, but it was a tie game in extra innings. It wasn't like it was a save opportunity where he just needed to have somebody come in and shut it down per se. But man, he went to Ubaldo. I mean, let's back up. He went to Ubaldo Jimenez.
Well, Casey, don't you think that in the playoffs it's a little different though? Don't you think I know it wasn't a save situation, but if Britain, man, you got to be able to go 2 or 3 innings there. Even if he brings them in and he gets them 2 or 3 innings and they can't score and he's got to take them out, That's
Yeah.
really kind of on the offense then, but not to use him at all. Still don't get that.
Yeah. And it wasn't like we had a weak offense that year too.
Right.
We had pop. So
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the future. I mean, that's really what the Orioles are about this year. We're looking down the line. Tell us a little bit about their farm system. So right now they got them ranked kind of in the middle of the pack. Anywhere between 10 and 15. I saw. So can you tell us about some prospects they have that are interesting? Somebody can make an impact this year.
Well, I mean, you're right. The 10 to 15 is where I'm seeing a lot of stuff through MLB pipeline, stuff like that. But just 2 years ago, they were bottom of the barrel. I mean, they were way, way down there, had no prospects to really look forward to. There's a lot of clamoring already for a guy named Ryan Mountcastle. Led the I think he led or finished in the top 3 in strikeouts, batting last year, which is something we need at the third base position, so we can complement that when balance it out with the first base position.
I was going to say he happens to play the same position as Mr. Davis, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So anyway, he's gonna be up before the end of the year. I just don't think they're rushing it, kind of like the Chris Bryant situation. They're trying to get an extra year on his clock, if you will. But recently, I think they just ranked us, and we have 4 prospects in the top 100 at this point. Mountcastle just fell out of the top 100 with the draft, and then so did Diaz. So we had a couple guys that were right there as well. But the one everybody's talking about is Adley Rutschman, and switch hitting catcher, defensive catcher. He's he's a stud if there ever was one. Kind of brings me back to Matt Wieters.
Yeah.
Matt Wieters was a stud switch hitting catcher coming out of college. I hope he pans out better than Wieters, who is actually still playing with the Cardinals. But yeah, Rutschman he was drafted in the 40th round back in like 2016 by the Mariners, and then ended up going to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Yeah, was a kicker. Walked on as a kicker for their football team the first year, and then went full time, played baseball, and best player in the country. So World Series MVP, all that stuff. So college player of the year. So a lot of promise around him. I think he signed for like 8.1 mil. It was a record at the time. And then this year kind of went against odds and took this big power hitting first baseman out of Arkansas, Kerstead. But Elias was, I think, really smart with this draft. We had some competitive balance picks, so we were able to got this guy under slot this year as a number 2 pick, got a solid bat in him, and ended up being able to steal some high school guys with college commitments. So we signed every single one of our players this year, which is pretty promising. And then the other 2 guys that are on the top 100 are pitchers. We got a righty and a lefty, Grayson Rodriguez and D.L. Hall. And I really think that both of them will crack the rotation probably this year.
Wow.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Even though D.L. Hall was up he was in A-ball last year, but he seems to be doing pretty well, and so was Rodriguez. So they're saying, depending on where they want to start their clock, if they feel like they have a team together, they might be able to field something competitive next year. They might bring them up to get some experience into this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that definitely at least makes this year interesting. I mean, that would be awesome for them to bring up those 2 pitchers. That's what they need. It's a big hole. But DJ, you got anything to add to all that?
No, the only guy I want to talk about Rutschman too, just a little bit, man. Here's the thing, Casey. I think that the Orioles are in a spot right now where they need a superstar. They need a player that's going to commit and be there for a long time, be the face of the franchise, really. And I think that this could be the guy. This really could. I've been excited about him since they drafted him number 1. Watching him in the College World Series, what a stud, man! This guy's legit. There's no doubt he's gonna be the real deal in my eyes, anyway. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. A switch hitting catcher, that's unheard of, really. I mean, it really is. And so I'm not as in tune as to how good of a defensive catcher he is. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that real quick for us. But I know he can hit, and I really do hope that he's the face of the franchise for the next 10 years. Because the Orioles, man, what a great baseball city, what a great everything, and they need somebody really bad to be the guy.
Yeah, attendance has been pretty lean this year.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
almost was
but
like, really?
but I'll be honest with you. The last couple of years looks like COVID's been around for a while because it's been. Last year probably my favorite game, and I'll get to Rutschman's question in a minute. But my favorite game. So my buddy from Toronto, he comes in with his kid and his wife, and we go down to a game, and there's like thousands, probably like 5,000 Boy Scouts of America troops in the stands, and they all sitting in left field, and they're all from overseas somewhere. There's very few American scouts there, but evidently it's a big thing they do every year. And so they're all at this ball game, and they're doing the Aussie, 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 oi, 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 like the whole game. Every time Anthony Santana would make a catch, they would go ballistic. They would go
Yeah.
nuts, and it was just it was really cool to see and be a part of. We found ourselves like watching them more than the game, but it was pretty cool. But as far as Rutschman goes, he's for everything I'm seeing, he's solid defensively. I don't have the stats as far as like his fielding position last year or what his throw out rate was or anything like that. But from what everything I'm reading, solid behind the plate as well.
Yeah. So DJ, real quick, let's back up just a little bit, just real quickly. What do you think the best and worst case scenarios are for the Orioles this year?
Oh man, if they get out of the cellar, that'd be great. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, there's no way they're gonna do it, but that would be if they got fourth place. I think that'd be the best thing that could happen to them this year. The American League East is. So we talked about the Red Sox, Casey, and I wholeheartedly believe that the Orioles have a better pitching staff than the Red Sox do, and it's just unfortunate the Orioles can't hit because if they could a little bit, they probably could jump the Red Sox. But the Red Sox lineup is absolutely stacked. So with those four teams, man, the Orioles are not even close to competing with any of those teams. And the Blue Jays are one of the best up and coming teams, and we know the Rays are really good, and nobody's going to touch the Yankees in the American League, I believe. So they're kind of stuck right now, to be honest with you. And Casey, what are you holding out? I want to ask you this: what are you, as a fan, what are you kind of holding on to as hope for this team? I'm just kind of wondering, as an Oriole fan, like, where are you like thinking that if this happens or this happens, then this might turn around a little bit? Because I got to be honest with you, man. Looking at this on paper, they're not even close. So give Orioles fans a little hope here.
Can't do it. No. No. I'm gonna tell you, it's a conundrum because you want to win, right? You play to win the game. Losing is a disease, like the bubonic plague, like tuberculosis, like syphilis. And what movie is that from?
You remember? I don't know, but syphilis was a good ad there.
It's The Natural, man.
Oh, the net, duh.
Yeah. Duh. So, you want to win the games. You want to have interest. This is the first time we've had interest in August in years now, 3 years. But probably the worst case scenario is finishing second to last, right? Well, maybe third to last. Evidently, Vanderbilt's got two studs of pitchers with Plesac and Rocker, and to be able to,
Rocker's a stud.
So finishing second to last doesn't give you the opportunity to draft him,
Gotcha.
But again, if you mix that guy into a Rutschman and the Rodriguez and Hall and maybe Mountcastle, and now you got and Mancini comes back, you got a little nucleus there, who could potentially make some noise, So
yeah, way to make me look stupid there, because you're exactly right. Because I read something today, to be honest with you, about the Astros, and remember this, like not too long ago, man, they lost 100 games in a row, 3 years in a row, and they ended up getting all those draft picks, and it turned into the trash bangers that they are now, and they ended up winning a World Series and all that good stuff. But yeah, you're so right about it, man. If you continue to add number 1 and number 2 picks to a nucleus of those guys, things start to click, man. That's a good point.
Yeah, and you got the guy drafting, Elias that built that or helped build that nucleus in Houston. So speaking of Houston, can we just sit on that for 1 second? Did you guys
Sure.
hear Oral Hershiser the other night?
I heard about what he said, but go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so Altuve struck out, and like he had never struck out more than 8 times in 8 games or something like, and he had now struck out 10 times in 8 games. I mean, he just looked foolish on this fastball right down the middle. And he's walking off. Hershiser says something like, well, knowing or guessing is harder than knowing. And I was like, mic drop. Mic drop. Like Oral busting out the knowledge from the top rope.
Wow.
Awesome.
So DJ thinks that Altuve can still be a Hall of Famer, even though he cheated. But he thinks that like Barry Bonds and these guys that were steroid guys shouldn't be in. What's your opinion on that, Casey?
Well, I think you summed it up when you also said that he thought Dylan Bundy's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
I need not add anything else.
I told him the last podcast, like, we got to sound smart at some point or people won't listen.
Yeah, Dylan Bundy's going to be a Hall of Famer indeed in his high school in Oklahoma.
There you go. You go.
Yeah. So.
All right. It's trivia time. I'm looking forward to this because I feel like we might have probably the smartest guy we've had on here ever. So DJ, let's fire some trivia out here.
Let's do it.
Oh, I'm sweating, man.
You want me to give it to you guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So this is hilarious, Casey, because you already started answering this question a few minutes ago that I had for you. Unbelievable. Because the Orioles are only one of 2 teams to have 4 20-game winners in the same season. They did it in 1971. Name the 4 guys who got 20 wins that year.
All right, so you had Palmer's the easy one, McNally, Steve Stone. Oh, geez. Always the 4 horsemen. It's Steve Stone, McNally, and I'm going to kick myself as soon as I can't remember it, and you tell me.
It is not. By the way, you got Palmer and McNally. It is not Steve Stone.
It's not. That's right. Steve Stone was in the 80s. I give up. I don't know.
Mike Cuellar, Cuellar, and Pat Dobson.
Cuellar, yeah.
Cuellar and Pat Dobson.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's actually pretty crazy though, to think that they had 4 guys that won 20. Good grief, man.
Yeah, and they didn't win the World Series.
Yep, that's true. They really did not. So this leads me to your question, David.
71 Mets.
So the Orioles have a rich. I was looking back through, man. Some of the guys that have played for the Orioles is pretty impressive, actually. Eddie Murray, Rafael Palmeiro, Cal Ripken, Brooks Robinson, on down the list. Who was the first Oriole to hit 50 homers?
The first one to do it?
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Brady.
Yep, Brady Anderson.
Was it Brady?
Yep. He mostly spent most of his career hitting around 25 bombs, and somehow, magically,
No. That you're being generous. It wasn't 25.
yeah, somehow, DJ, how do you think that happened, man? You just think it's just one of those years, or?
That's the biggest steroid crock of them all, to be honest with you, how he did that and then all of a sudden was just like
DJ, you got no proof, buddy. Brady Anderson is going to sue our podcast for defamation.
Defamation. Jeez. Well, I gotta. Do I get to ask you trivia questions?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
All right. Mine's a recent one. So, a former Oriole is scheduled to make the most money in Major League Baseball this year. He will not throw a single pitch.
I know who it is.
Who is it?
Bobby Bonilla.
No.
What? Bobby Bonilla, he said throw a single pitch. Get out of here.
Man.
Bobby Bonilla is a good one, though, because that guy's got such a contract, man.
His agent was sick.
Most money in baseball and won't throw a pitch. That tells me he's a pitcher, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Or does it?
I don't know. I want to make sure you're not tricking me.
No. He is a pitcher. I'll give you a hint.
It's recent.
Wow. Man, that's tough. Let's see.
It's somebody that's on a backloaded deal. So he's got some guaranteed money coming to him that so I think we need to go back a few years, and he's older. He's got to be a little bit older or maybe injury. That's how that's got to be. He's got to be on like a backloaded deal.
Man. I can't even think of who that would be.
I'm stumped too. Go ahead and give it to us.
Wei Yin Chin.
What?
Wei Yin Chin will make the most money out of any Major League Baseball player this year and will not throw a single pitch. So the way his contract was structured, so after he signed a free agent deal with the Miami Marlins and he got injured or didn't throw well enough or whatever. But anyway, he got released owing $22 million on this year's contract. Everybody else's was prorated, right? So for the 60-game season, so he won't make he will make more because of the proration. However, if they would have waited until baseball had actually been shut down because of COVID to release him, they would have saved about $14 million on that contract.
Wow.
But they released him. They released him too soon. He won't throw a pitch. He's going to make $22 million this year, which will be the most in Major League Baseball.
I need agents like Wei Yin Chin and Bobby Bonillas, man.
Yeah.
I need that kind of agent in my life.
Yeah.
Me too.
But I wanted to one more thing. I know we're probably going over time, but I found this interesting fact, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I think we all can agree that Frank Robinson was one of the best players in MLB history. I mean, just Cincinnati, only player to win ML or MVP in both leagues, right? Triple Crown winner. So he had, anybody know how many home runs he had?
I'm going to go off the top of my head, 580.
586.
Yeah.
586. How many teams?
Reds, Orioles. That's the only two I can think of.
That was the only two I could come up with. But it was 5 teams total, actually.
Really?
So, yep. So he hit 179 of his home runs with the Orioles. And of those 179, only 2 were grand slams. But the interesting thing to that was both grand slams are hit on the same day, and they came in consecutive bats against Joe Coleman and Joe Grandeza in the 5th and 6th innings of a 12-2 win over the Senators.
Oh.
Furthermore, both slams come with 1 out, and both times Dave McNally, Don Buford, and Paul Blair were on base in front of them.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys, it is. I love watching Tim Kirchin who's a Baltimore guy, by the way, just shares crazy stats like that. I mean, he is just so full of them, so full of knowledge.
Yep.
So
Casey, who is your favorite all-time Oriole?
Okay, before you answer, Casey, since we have since this is your team, I want to hear 3 different answers on this. I want to hear your childhood Oriole growing up, who you idolized. I want to hear more of your late 90s, 2000s kind of guy, and I want to hear the guy that you're the most excited about in the recent years.
Oh, geez. All right. Childhood had to be Cal Ripken. I mean, every kid in Baltimore dreamt of growing up being Cal Ripken. Man, then you go late 90s, early 2000s, and gosh, man, we were so bad for so long that, you know what? I might, well, Cal's is Cal. But I always loved Smoking Joe Orsalat. Probably don't even remember that guy's name. And
Yeah.
But Smoking Joe, I always loved him. By the way, he's the one that hit the ball that Bo Jackson caught on the run and scaled the fence.
Really?
Yep, at Memorial Stadium. And so late 90s, man, I tell you what, man, late 90s, again, we went through such a drought for 15 years. It was, you had so much hope. You got all the retreads. You got the Sammy Sosa, the Vladimir Guerrero, the Tejadas, you get all those guys come in. You think big things are going to happen, and just, of course, 97, 98. I remember watching the playoff game with the Indians and just hating Marquise Grissom and Kenny Lofton, and we were in Phillips' dorm, getting our haircut with Chris Michaud. And but my one now, it's just so tough, man. It's just so tough. Austin Hayes, I love the energy and he's just one of those guys that's so hungry to play the game. He's our center fielder, leadoff batter, just eager to play the game, eager to hustle, eager to run, eager to hustle everything out, try to take an extra base when he can. You just see the enthusiasm, the boyhood enthusiasm that he still plays with, and that's refreshing. But I will say, interestingly enough, my favorite ball players of all time are not Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to hate me for one of them, DJ.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Who do you think it is?
Oh, man. Probably Frank Thomas or something stupid like that, right?
Harold Bain.
I only like Frank Thomas because of the testosterone commercials he does. Because it doesn't look like he's any thinner. He's just wearing black. And
yeah.
David, you said Harold Baines?
Yeah, man. He was an Oriole for a minute.
He was an Oriole for a minute. He was an Easton, Maryland native. He's actually in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. We'll have a whole episode on that. I can't wait.
And I played against his son in college up here.
Oh, that's cool.
Favorite players all time, favorite pitcher of all time, Sandy Koufax. Loved, that 5-year stretch he had, and he just, what he stood for, not pitching World Series game on a Saturday because of his religious convictions. I just think that's a testament to his character. My buddy, cool story real quick. My buddy who I was trying to get, he's a pitching coach for the Orioles. He came up in the Dodgers system, and I was telling him one time, I said, man, we're gonna get a silver lab. We name it Koufax. My son wants to name it Koufax. And he's like, oh man, Sandy taught me how to throw a curveball. I'm like, get out of here, man.
No
Sandy
way.
Koufax taught you how to throw a curveball. But a favorite player, position player of all time, Stan Musial.
Oh, Stan the man. Okay. I can't fault you for that. I hate the Cardinals, but
yeah.
I mean, you got to love guys like that. I mean, I tell David all the time, I hate the Yankees, but if you don't like Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, you don't like Mickey Mantle, then you're not really a baseball fan. So Stan falls in that category too, for sure.
Yep. I mean, just a model of consistency, and I would love to be able to go back to the 50s and 60s and watch baseball. I just think that it would be a refreshing time. And
I
being at
agree
Field of
100%.
Dreams 2 weeks ago was just like, we watched the movie again last night with the kids, and it was just, there's something magical about that place. But anyway.
So hey,
DJ?
I just saw that game got postponed again. What happened on that? Anybody here?
Well, the Cardinals tested positive for COVID, like 7 players, 6 coaches. It was supposed to be tonight.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
I
they
thought it was
just
a little bit
canceled it.
later.
No, they just canceled it. So
Gotcha.
So DJ, who's your favorite Oriole, buddy?
It's Cal Ripken. I mean, growing up, he was the face of the Orioles. He was everything. We talked about how we would, be in the backyard, and when you go through shortstops as you're getting ground balls hit to you, you're thinking Ozzie Smith just for his defense, not his hitting, because he's terrible. Probably one of the worst hitting shortstops I've ever seen in my life. And then the Barry Larkin and Cal Ripken Jr. I actually got this plate. It's kind of cool. I had this down in the man cave with the 2131 on it. It's an actual glass plate here, and it hangs up there. And you know, you got to be legit to get into the man cave and not in a box. So,
yeah,
I love Cal Ripken, everything he stood for. I mean, to me, besides maybe Cy Young's 511 wins, I don't know if that's probably maybe the second biggest record that's going to be the hardest to break, I think, of them all. That's just unbelievable to me that he avoided injury all those years and played the way he did at a high level for all those years with his brother and his dad on the same team too, which is really cool, and just really, really class act too, obviously. And man, unprecedented. I think he was 6'3" or 4", how tall he was to play shortstop is just unheard of too. So
yeah.
crazy,
I mean,
man.
he literally changed the game. Away from defensive guys. It's kind of changed back a little bit now, but you get defensive guys like Ozzie and what Barry Larkin was like 5'10" or 5'11" or whatever. But and then they transition. You got the A-Rods and the Jeter wasn't a short guy, and then Correa. You get those guys. And, yeah. I have a couple of signed jerseys by Ripken, but my favorite piece of memorabilia is I got this poster by Brooks Robinson, and it says, "My best to one of my biggest fans. Happy Father's Day, Brooks Robinson." And it's just
sweet.
We just literally moved my baseball room to my daughter's bedroom, and so nothing got hung up yet. But yeah,
That's cool.
It's a treasured piece for sure.
That's awesome, man. Very cool.
You guys have been talking all night. Let me tell you who my most hated Oriole is. So, Casey, growing up, me and DJ have already talked about this. My favorite player was Tino Martinez with the Yankees. And man, do y'all remember?
I know. I already know.
I watched that game the other day when Armando Benitez buzzed old Tino, hit him in the back, and Graham Lloyd came out there swinging, and Darryl Strawberry. Dude, I was still mad. My heart was still thumping, man. I was hoping somebody get a hold of that dude and clock him. And then, I don't know if you guys remember this.
Alan Mills
signed him one year or traded for him one year at the deadline. I was like, what are y'all doing? Tino was still on the team. I was still wanting to hit him. I'm still mad about it. I hate Armando Benitez.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also hated Armando Benitez, but it was because of a hanging slider against the Cleveland Indians. Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
fantastic.
When we hang up, I have another story to tell you. So when you stop recording, because I don't want that recorded.
That's going to be interesting. Well, I guess it's about that time to wrap it up. DJ, you got anything to add?
Oh man, we got to talk about Camden Yards.
Oh yeah,
right.
We definitely talk about Camden Yards, no doubt.
So what's that?
Yeah. What is that place?
Oh man, Camden Yards. I mean the icon. It's just a picture of beauty. The way they situated that field in there, and preserved the history of the B&O warehouse, the major train line that came in there. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous with the Baltimore skyline, and just totally changed the landscape. I mean, enough has been said about it. The way it changed the landscape of Major League Baseball stadiums for futures, and the way that cities would look at putting their, I think that's probably why Fenway hasn't been replaced. One of the reasons, it's just everything kind of came back to that. They tried to put those bowls out in the suburbs and things like that. And now, like Atlanta, they put theirs halfway to Chattanooga, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So now you got, just change the landscape. It's beautiful. And out in center field, above the mini green monster, if you will, they have a rooftop bar and a viewing area from up there. And the bleachers are hot as all get out in the summertime and humid, and all these bronze statues in center field court. One of the neat things I think too, for people who haven't been there, behind the right field wall where the flag court is, every day they line the flag courts according to the standings. But then they also, on the pavement, they put a bronze ball with the name of the person who hit it in the distance and the date and what team they were from. And so right there at the base of the wall, the pavement is littered with all these bronze balls of where the home runs have landed. And then Griffey, the only guy to ever hit the wall, hit the warehouse, which it takes a shot of 460 feet to do. He's the only guy to ever hit it, but he has a bronze thing right on the wall. He did that during batting practice of the All-Star game. So Just a really, really neat atmosphere. The only bad thing I think about it is if you go to get a concession, how the new parks you can actually see, or even Wrigley, the old park there, you can see directly out to the game still. Unfortunately, you can't do that. It's all blocked.
So, DJ, you've been to Camden Yards. What did you think about it?
I loved every bit of that field, man. And Casey, to be honest with you, man, I had known that you were there. And when we got tickets to go, it was kind of crazy because I can't remember exactly where we were before we rolled through Baltimore, but it was right at the time of the riots that we went. And so we were in and out like that, man. And honestly, if we weren't in and out like that, we would have probably hooked up. But man, I was trying to get out of that city as fast as I possibly could for that reason. And when we got in, we got out just as fast. But man, I loved every minute of being there. We sat in the upper bowl behind home plate. Good view of the warehouse and everything out there, man. We saw all the statues of the icon. The way they set that out and built that thing is it's legendary, to be honest with you. And whoever laid that thing out and thought that whole thing through, just a genius at building ballparks. And so I don't know, man, it's in my top 5 for sure. It really is of my favorite ones I've seen. I'm about halfway there, Casey, and that's definitely one of my faves.
Yeah.
David, have you been?
What would your top 5 be?
No. I'm gonna go right now. So I love PNC in Pittsburgh. Me and David actually went to that one together. Camden Yards is up there. Wrigley Field's my number 1, obviously. Dodger Stadium is 4. 5, man, I don't know.
Dodger Stadium is an interesting one, the way it's built into the side of the hill.
Yes.
Just crazy how you enter and you're just kind of, wait, I'm in the upper deck, Yeah. It's crazy, but.
Yeah, so those 4 are probably up there. I mean, number 5, I don't know, kind of debatable between a few other ones, but pretty awesome. And awesome.
Yeah.
So one more thing, David. We got to get to this real quick because we got to give a shout out to not only Casey, who's an Oriole fan of our former teammates, but the lovely Jenkins boys, Mike and Jamie Jenkins. Now, Casey, you obviously know them, right? Because you were there. They were there. They came in the same time I did.
No, I don't think there were some twins there that were they weren't Jenkins though. They were anyway, I'll think of it.
So the twins had a good twin and a bad twin, an evil twin. And if I'm not mistaken, DJ, was Jamie the evil twin? Is that correct?
No, Mike was the evil twin.
Mike was the evil twin. And so Jamie played second base, for us. They're probably my sophomore, junior year, somewhere in there. Mike was the catcher. And so anyway, those guys are hilarious. I guess Mike, I think, owns a used car lot now in Chattanooga, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's Jamie. I can't remember. But Jamie had a lot of good times with the twins, man. They're hilarious.
So I could never tell them apart, man. I could never tell them apart, either of them. And I'd have to look at their jersey number because Jamie was 1 and Mike was 8. And I'd have to look over to see which one to yell at and tell them to do what they were supposed to do. And tell you what, man, one of the funniest moments ever. And it probably wasn't really funny at the time because it was during a game, but ground ball got hit to Jamie, and Jamie crossed over with his foot and got his cleat cut. He got his cleat caught on his shoelace as he was falling over, threw the ball into the seats at Ingle, man. Stuff like that happened all the time, man. We called him Chuck Knobloch there for a little while.
Yeah. That was funny. I was on the mound when that happened, and that still was hilarious. I didn't mind at all.
I was thinking about Billy and Steven Garrick. Do you remember those guys?
Yeah, Boss Garrick, absolutely.
Yeah. Weren't they twins?
I don't think they were twins, no.
Hey, I visited last time I was in Chattanooga. I went by Engle, and it's such a sad sight at this point. You know, you want to see all these old ballparks just kind of maintained. But I tell you, I remember one game. I can't remember who was pitching, but man, somebody cranked a home run off. Do you remember the Newton Chevrolet sign off the light post in right field?
Oh yeah,
it went up and down. I think it hit the E in Newton. I mean, it was blistered. Right fielder, I mean, it just stood there. But what a beautiful ballpark. And I don't know if you guys, do you remember playing there when they had the lookouts in flowers across the in center field, that hill like you have in Houston? That was so cool. Yeah. Love those old ballparks, and the Coke bottles on the light post there. Yeah, UTC owns that now, I think.
Yeah, I actually hated that hill in center field until we actually got that fence that kind of went up permanently towards the end of our careers there. But man, it's kind of like in Houston how they had that little hill, and I played center field, so I was like, how in the world am I going to run up that thing if somebody Donkey Kong's one way out there? Like, what is this? Like, you got to go up a hill to get the ball? That's so stupid. So
yeah, but you had to Donkey Kong it to get it out there. I mean,
yeah.
I tell you what, speaking of center field, I love watching Jimmy Edmonds play center field.
Oh my gosh,
me too. DJ doesn't appreciate Jim Edmonds and how awesome he was.
He that's a Hall of Famer there, man.
Casey.
Yeah. Man,
I really loved you until now, man. Come on.
How do you not love Jim Edmonds?
Yeah, DJ, how?
Is this thing over yet?
I mean, one of the greatest all-time catches. Well, I mean, if you pull up greatest catches center field, Jim Edmonds pops up, I mean, immediately.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, some of those catches he made were comparable to Griffey. I mean, seriously.
Let's talk a little bit more about Jim Edmonds. DJ, you just be quiet. we just literally in the last 2 or 3 episodes talked about Jim Edmonds, and man, DJ was just hating life. It was awesome.
I can't believe you brought that up, Casey. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt.
Hey. You know, I don't know if you guys follow Clay Travis, but he does talk about it. He goes, I'm going to run for office. I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to lie to you. And that's what I'm just doing right now. I'm not going to lie to you. Jim Edmonds.
Jeez, Jim Edmonds. I'm right there with you, buddy.
David, it's time to end this thing, man.
Well, guys, I guess it is time to wrap it up. It's been good. It's been fun, Casey. It's been really nice getting to know you.
You too.
Yeah, heard a lot about you in days past, a lot about those old teams, and so it was nice putting a face with it. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up. 2020 going to be a rough year for the Orioles, but we're going to be looking down the road at what's coming in the future. But guys, I appreciate it. It's good to see you guys again. And DJ, Mariners, is that right?
Yeah, that's gonna be a rough one.
Yeah. So that'll be the next team we talk about. But we appreciate all of our thousands of listeners across the globe. I think we're in several different countries now, and so we appreciate all your support.
Yeah.
Casey, good to have you, buddy. Take care, bud.
All right. Hey, in the recording, I'll tell you the other story real quick.
You got it.